GB Patch Games! That's what we should do when we play this game. Every time an episode ends with Cove crying or Cove cries, you gotta take a shot. Shilo sighed happily at the moment as Cove's rate. French fries is mean.
Yeah.
I am French fries.
Everybody but Cove.
Mr. Holden. You guys having sex? Is that what's going on? Marriage. Marriage is why we all gather together today. What's up, bitches? Welcome back to Our Life Beginning and Always, where Cove is sure to piss us off. Now, I have my cup of water here, but Cove might drive me to drink. I should probably just, take a shot preemptively for his ridiculousness. But let's go! We are on Serendipity. Light filtered down through the leaves of an oak tree overhead, casting speckled shadows on the sidewalk all around you. There was a drop of sweat slowly making its way down the side of your face. You flicked it away with your thumb, slowing to a stop in the cool shade. The day had you out and about in town, in no hurry to go anywhere in particular. You had just gotten something to eat and there was nothing planned for the rest of the afternoon. Your moms were at work, and Liz had left early in the morning to do something. You had no idea what. Is she home now? I thought she moved out. Plot-holes! You took out your phone, idly noting the time when it started to jingle. The screen lit up in your hand. Speak of the devil, Liz messaged you. I'm home. ASAP. Before you could even begin to question why, your phone went off again. Nothing bad, but you have to see this. Come back already. Thanks for giving me an anxiety attack, sister of mine who I love so much. And with that final message, you were left only slightly less confused than you were before. You hadn't seen much of your sister lately. She had been acting strange for days, always shutting herself up in her room. Which wouldn't be so weird if at the dinner table she didn't suddenly start smirking to herself over nothing. Oh, she got a boy or a girl? That's my guess. The rare times you did see her, she would sneak you expectant looks like she was waiting to be asked what was up. But all your questions led nowhere. She'd answer you with a put-upon sigh, proclaim that she was busy, and tell you that she would have to talk about it later. No hints, no guessing. Whatever it was, she was determined to keep it a secret. Maybe now you'd finally find out what it was. As you did an about-face on the sidewalk and started heading home, you received more texts. To your surprise, the name that popped up on the screen this time was Cove's. Did you hear from Liz? About some urgent thing you have to see? She messaged Cove too? You weren't surprised. Liz teased him about it, but he was like family. However, we're struggling to understand how he fit into Liz's surprise. Yeah, Liz sent me the same thing. What, is there something on fire? Why would Liz tell you her news? I'm gonna say, is something on fire? His reply came only seconds later as you waited to cross the street. Something tells me it's not that, and something tells me you know that too. You laughed to yourself as you read his message. A short-lived joke, but you knew when to let things go. You got me, detective. Too bad, that's all I know. Are you gonna see what's up? No, Cove, I thought I would just stand here and stare at my phone and not advance the plot at all today. That's what I thought I would do. Glancing up, you saw that the light had changed to a walk sign while you were busy texting. You hurriedly wrapped things up, texting Cove a quick goodbye before crossing the street. It was fine. You'd be seeing him later anyways. Not expecting any more messages, you put your phone away so you could walk without having to worry about tripping over the curb. Thankfully, it was a short trek home, and soon enough, you were walking up your street, the familiar face of your house already in view. Thinking of what might be waiting at home. Making you worried, left you entirely lost. I would be worried, that's all I'm gonna say. The sight of your front door had you swallowing uneasily. Liz said it wasn't anything bad, but in the back of your head, you couldn't shake a faint worry. Lost in your thoughts, you almost didn't see who was walking further up the street. Cove. Even from the back, the bright sea green color of his hair was unmistakable. You quickened your pace to catch up with him, scuff of your shoes loud against the pavement. He heard it instantly, not missing a beat as he turned towards you and slowed his step in sync.
Hey.
Hey, French fires. Hi. Here we are. Out the house. At that, Cove gave you a wry smile. Here we are. It sounded almost like a question, wondering why the two of you had been summoned here. Any ideas on what Liz wants for us? You shook your head. The situation was out of character for your sister. Anything could happen. Well, guess we should go in and find out. Taking his cue, you grabbed your keys and opened the front door. Cove trailed behind you as you entered. You nervously stuck your head through the doorway and peered about, not sure what you were looking for or looking out for. From the entryway, you could see Liz pacing across the living room, her smiling gaze intent on her phone. You had caught her just as she completed a turn. Behind you, the door clicked shut. The second she heard it, her head darted up in your direction, her features lighting up at the sight of you and Cove. You've arrived, and together, too. That's perfect. Just perfect. She flashed you a radiant smile. You could almost see her limbs vibrating as if she were poised to pounce. Cove raised an eyebrow at your sister's bizarre behavior. What's going on? It better be important. You're in a good mood, so what is it? Where is it? Quietly waited to see what she would reveal. I'm gonna say what's going on. Oh, you'll see. Liz's eyes narrowed with a mischievous glint, and she let out a little cackle. Oh, I'd say, is it my cousin? Because I'd say, spoilers, I had seen art of Lee when she's older. Is it my cousin? That's my guess. Or a puppy. Is it a puppy? So, lately, I've been hard at work on a little plan of mine, and you two get to the honor of seeing it all come together. Here it is. Surprise! She lifted a hand in the air to present the very comfortable but completely mundane living room. Oh, did she redecorate the room? What did it look like before? I don't remember. In the resulting silence, you and Cove glanced around again and then made eye contact with each other. His face mirrored your bafflement. Then suddenly, another voice rang out in the room. Is it Dracula? He coming over later? Ah! Cove flinched at the shout, his shoulders shooting up to his ears. Laughter came from your sister as well as from the other side of the room. It's Shilo! My sweet little baby boy! How I've missed you! Your head whipped around just in time to see a familiar figure with a freckled face and a purple cap springing up from behind the back of the couch. Cove's mouth fell open, recognition immediately coming to him. Shilo? Hi, Cove! Hi, French fires! Shilo greeted the two of you so casually, like he'd gone for 10 days rather than 10 years, and he wasn't pretending to not know your ass this time, you jerk. Shilo, won the world. I thought you weren't, that's what I'm gonna say. I thought you weren't the Shilo we knew. Ish. The initial shock wore off. You crossed your arms and leveled a look at his freckled face, who had ditched you at the start of summer. He treated you and Liz like complete strangers. Shilo shifted Nervously? Nervously! That's a word. Shilo shifted nervous.
He did shift nervously, didn't he?
Damn it! Shilo was very nervous. He was shifting, angling the brim of his hat down, as if to hide from your scrutiny. Liz tutted at your comment. Don't be rude. I'll explain. When we got home that day, I changed my mind about letting it go. Why did I have to? Social media exists, right? So I thought, why not try finding him and sending him a little reminder message? Luckily, there were only so many 17-year-old Shilo Fields in the world. It wasn't hard to do. Hearing Liz speak seemed to encourage Shilo, who pulled himself together to face both of you and your sister with a careful smile. I'm really sorry about what happened. When you talked to me the first time, I was in the middle of a tour for a school field trip. I couldn't get separated from the group and didn't expect anyone to want to be talking to me. I was so worried about getting back to everyone, I didn't think too hard on what you were saying. But when Lizzie's message showed up, everything suddenly hit me. Lizzie, French fires, how many fucking... There's not a lot of Shilo Fields in the world, but how many fucking girls do you know named French fires? That is a load of hot trash. There's no way I could forget that. Not for real. I do know all of you, and I'm so happy I get to see you again. I have Lizzie to thank. My mom was already planning to take a short trip here this summer. If my mom could bring me along, Lizzie offered to pick me up and bring me the west of the way. That's why I decided to make it a big reveal instead of outright telling you to. I got back in contact with Shilo. Once again, she lifted a hand in the air, properly presenting that long-lost childhood friend that you all shared. So, ta-da! Impressive. Alright, still pretty stupid of you to not realize sooner. That one. I don't need to read that one. At that, Shilo tipped his face down, one hand scratching the back of his neck while Liz frowned at you. Sorry, I felt pretty dumb myself. French fires is just being a jerk. Don't mind her. Cove blinked slowly, still a little dazed by everything that was going on. Okay, I'm gonna go get some water. Don't disappear or anything. He padded off to the kitchen, no need for a chaperone. He knew where the cups were. Wow, you really surprised him, Lizzie. And French fires, too. Did you see your face when I appeared? Yes, I did. Liz patted the cushion on the front of the couch. Make yourself comfortable. You don't have to keep hunkering down behind there anymore. With a laugh, Shilo crossed around the backside and took the seat. But maybe it was awkward being the only one sitting because he kept idly twiddling his fingers. You could hear him humming to himself, a nonsense tune with no real melody, something to keep his voice busy. Being here again could be more nerve-wracking for him than he let on. Cove's soft voice announced his return. He paused to drag the back of his hand across his mouth, wiping away what droplets of water lingered there. Hi, Shilo. Welcome back? At Cove's confusing greeting, Shilo laughed cheerfully. Thanks! I think it's amazing you're all still here in the same neighborhood. It's just like how it was way back then. With a giggle that implied differently, Liz nodded in your general direction. There have been some changes since then. You narrowed your eyes at Liz. There was no way you could miss the teasing look she was fixing you and Cove with. Shilo's eyes shifted across the group, still smiling politely, but there was a slight tilt to his eyebrows. He didn't know what to make of what she was saying, that is, until Cove cleared his throat and spoke. French fires and I are dating. It was fascinating how red he got when he said it, voice barely above a whisper, like he couldn't believe it was okay to say. Shiloh's eyes went wide as saucers, mouth opening to a tiny O shape. Really? Congratulations! It's really sweet that the two of you got closer. You blushed. Phelps got himself a keeper. Yeah, it's pretty inevitable. I didn't want to be with anybody else. Those are no answers that I would say. I will smile at you.
Yeah.
He hooked his finger around yours, returning the smile with a crooked one of his own. As easy as anything. Shilo sighed happily at the moment as Cove raised an eyebrow and gave the room a considering glance. Hey, this is where we first met, remember? Right after I moved in, me and French Friars brought down right here to have a play date with you. Yeah! Shilo laughed, his eyes downcast as he fiddled with the corner of his collared shirt. We almost didn't meet in the living room because you wanted to jump out the window and get away from me. Ha ha!
Why are you waiting for my reaction?
Because.
But you know what? Because she's in. Yeah.
Cove cringed at the memory of his younger self being pushed back to the forefront of his mind. His mouth got tight. He awkwardly looked away from Shilo. You have a good memory.
Oh?
Oh, I don't think so. Seeing this place again just brings lots of things back. He clapped his hands together, an idea suddenly coming to him. But hey, now that our group is together, you want to go out and visit some old places? I've been hiding in the living room since I got here. Oh, Shilo. Liz wasn't afraid to laugh at herself, bringing a hand to her chest to silently take the blame for that. I'd love to. Yeah. Without missing a beat, the others turned to you for your answer. Definitely, where to first, why not? You silently nodded, you shrugged, you looked hesitant, like, why not? It is a nice day out, after all. And with...
I'm sorry.
I
I was so engaged in the story.
know.
It's such a nice day out. So much.
And with that, the four of you headed out into the neighborhood as one. Even with how short the time you spent indoors was, the sun was momentarily blinding once you left the house. Squinting, you brought your hands up to shield your eyes. That pleasant summer day had yet to go away. Only a few wispy clouds drifted along the sky. As you strolled down the way, Liz took the lead, followed by you and Cove, walking side by side. Shilo freely took to walking in the middle of the road, his arms idly swinging back and forth at his sides as he turned his head every which way to take in as much as he could. It was very much a trip down memory lane for him. You wondered how much the neighborhood had changed in his eyes. Not a word passed between the group about where you were heading first, but soon enough, you found yourselves walking the usual path to the shopping street. Before you reached it, the sound of it, a collective of sandals tracking sand, the shrill call of seagulls, the overlapping conversations of beachgoers, the random strains of music, and various stalls. Wow! The odd gasp had come from Shilo. His eyes were lit up. Were there always so many different stores in one place? Yeah, of course. Wow! I can see so many people! Now they all come here. Hey, do they still have those little ice cream stands? Of course they do. Yay! We should get some. It'll be my treat. Thanks, Shilo. Ice cream sounds perfect on such a hot day. How about you, Cove? You could see that, unlike Liz, Cove was struggling with the decision, brow wrinkled in thought. Finally, a hesitant smile appeared on his face as he settled on keeping to the spirit of the special occasion. Yeah, sounds good to me. Awesome! And French fries? I'd like that. I don't want any. I'd rather pay for myself. I'll buy one for me and one for you, Shilo. I don't want yours, but I will always take free ice cream. Don't ask me that question. Shilo gave you a wide grin, as if you were the one buying him ice cream. The four of you continued to walk as ice cream plans were further discussed. Are you getting a popsicle, Lizzie? Yeah. Hearing that, Shilo smiled shyly. I thought you still might like them. I'm gonna get an ice cream cone. Shilo began to turn towards Cove, but before he could ask, Cove offered up his choice. I'll get an ice cream sandwich. What am I gonna get? A popsicle, an ice cream cone, an ice cream sandwich too. I want an ice cream cone, bitches. Shilo had the right idea for this one. It was the best choice. You still like those? Cool! Oh, fascinating. There was an ice cream stall further up the street, across from a souvenir shop displaying postcards of the seaside and saltwater taffy in its windows. The stand itself was already hard to miss with its pastel pinks and blues and its eye-catching poster boards listing every individual flavor. It was impossible to ignore once the catchy little jingle played from its speakers was added. Dun 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 dun. Shilo greeted the owner and began picking out the treats that everyone had chosen. He paid for them before handing them out to their respective orders. Sinking your teeth into your... Wait, no. Who fucking just goes and bites the... That is not how you eat an ice cream cone, and do not speak for me, game. Around you, everyone was eating at their own pace. Liz held her popsicle away from herself, careful not to let it drip on her dress. She was trying to go about eating it as delicately as she could while Shilo dug into his. You counted only 2 or 3 bites before Cove had devoured his sandwich. Shilo laughed, also noticing the way Cove inhaled his food. It's already finished? Cove shrugged, a little in reply. His attention more focused on crumpling up the sandwich wrapper in his hand. So what have you been doing around here since I've been gone? Well, I already told you about me attending college away from here, so I don't really live here anymore. But to be more specific on my life, I'm pursuing a degree in architecture. Shilo perked up at that, his mouth falling open in awe. Amazing! Thanks. Actually, I was thinking about it, and the first time I really decided I liked building, and building them. Oh, okay, yeah. That's a weird sentence. Actually, I was thinking about it, and the first time I really decided I liked buildings and building them was when you and I would make sandcastles on the beach. Aw, Lizzie! At such a sincere admission from your sister, all Shilo could do was blush and lower his head, too flattered to know what else to say. Liz laughed, just as flustered, though she had been the one to say it. The atmosphere was awkward, but not unpleasant. Shilo? Oh, yeah, I can't. Shilo? I'll get it. Tongue twister. Shilo shyly glanced over at you and Cove. And what about you two? What have you been up to? Not jet skiing! That's for fucking sure! Me and French Fires just graduated. High school, I mean. I got a part-time job. I volunteer at this organization to clean up stuff. You know, things like that. Nodded. You idly explained how you were doing normal things. That's a secret. You explained how you had a lot of plans. I'm mainly taking it easy. Yeah, it's a secret. It's very hush-hush, the life of French Fires. Highly classified information. Can't go around casually revealing it to you. I'm sure you understand. Cove laughed at that, giving a slight shake of the head. Shilo just seemed happy to hear it. Great! Being around him again was a little like picking up an old forgotten habit. Clunky at first, but as the four of you talked, it started to come more naturally. And when one of you ran out of things to say, suddenly someone else remembered something new. Oh, right. Do you remember those mean, old, not actually grandparents that used to live in our neighborhood? Yeah, they were so mean. Well, they're not here anymore. I'm pretty sure they died, but like the game never says so. One just assumes. Oh no! Thank you, Shilo. Perfect. Perfect response to my commentary. Oh, why you gotta spoil my game like that? They're not spending summers here anymore. They're still alive. Oh, thank goodness. It helped that Shilo was just as eager to hear what had gone on in his absence as people were to tell him. Soon everyone threw out what trash they had in a nearby garbage can as your group made their way down to the beach. Going down the shore inevitably led to a certain spot. It didn't take very long for Shilo to recognize what it was in the distance. His words trailed off in the middle of a sentence, his footsteps faltering at first. Then all at once he broke away from the group and dashed right into the old park, giggling as he ran. Oh, everything's so small! His laughter petered out as he came to a stop by the swings and grabbed hold of one of the support poles. He walked in a little circle around it, marveling at how easily his hand wrapped around its entirety. Emboldened by Shilo's enthusiasm, Liz plopped herself down on one of the swing sets, only to instantly show an expression of regret. There was no way she was comfortable in any of the tiny seats so low to the ground, not with how she had to scrunch her legs up to fit there. Shilo creeped up behind her. He took hold of the chains of her swing, one in each hand. What are you doing? And with a grin, Shilo started walking back. Liz shifted in her seat to look at him. You can't be trying to push me. These are made for kids. It's not gonna work. But Shilo just hummed and kept pulling her back. Resigning herself to her fate, Liz tucked her legs up as much as possible as Shilo moved his hands to her back. With a running start, he got her forward and up as far as he could go before jumping out of the way. Liz had her eyes squeezed shut, a screech escaping her as the swing started falling backwards, and when it swung back around, there was Shilo again to push her. She couldn't kick the ground like when they were kids. Her legs were too long for that now, but Shilo was pushing her enough to keep the momentum going. The air was filled with their wild laughter and the almost rhythmic jangle of swing chains. Cove sat against the bars of the jungle gym, wearing a bent smile as he watched them. He was fiddling with something, turning it over and over in his hands. When you craned your neck to get a better view, he obligingly lifted it for you to see. It was a piece of shell, one side rough and mottled gray, the other side completely smooth, revealing a faint blue sheen when it caught the light. I saw it on the beach. It's nice, isn't it? Yeah, it's a good one. No, I meant Shilo. Seems more confident than I remember. Think so too. You found it amazing to be playing with Shilo. You thought it was crazy how much time had gone by. Why don't you push me on swings like that, Cove? Cove narrowed his eyes at you, folding his arms with a bemused smile. Why don't you push me on swings like that? Shilo can do it for Liz, you can do it for me too. Wow, he had you there. Soon your sister began to speak out. Alright, I'm getting off now. How do you stop this? Don't worry. Shilo braced himself, one foot planted forward as the swing started coming back down. Then in one quick motion, he reached up and caught the chains again. The impact had his feet skidding back in the sand, but he kept his stance steady. If Liz was surprised at suddenly being brought to a halt, she didn't show it, only tilting her head up to smile at him. Shilo had yet to catch his breath, returning the smile just as brightly. He let go of the chains, walking around the swing set and briefly rubbing his hands together before offering one to Liz, which she graciously accepted, needing the help to get out of the tiny seat. Then the two of them made their way back over to you and Cove. Liz was looking more ruffled than usual, and her sun hat was off-kilter, having held on for dear life for the entire ride. She took a moment to straighten her outfit back into place. That looked fun. It was. Even though you were just pushing me on the swings? Yep, that was the fun part. Huh. Hey Shilo. You've got an idea of what our lives have been like since you've been gone, but I've been wondering what happened to you after you moved away. Shilo's eyes went wide, as if surprised to hear. You couldn't recall him talking about himself when you were all telling stories. Maybe he hadn't been able to find the right timing. He brought his hand to his chin, tapping it thoughtfully as he looked up and to the side. Well, what happened was my mom decided to move back to the south, closer to where I was born. We stayed there for a few years until she got another job offer in California, thanks to a connection she had there. It's a really good job at a private boarding school, so she took it. And with a wide grin, he said the next part. And as a bonus, her kid, me, gets to attend the school and live in the dorms for free. I've been there since my second year of middle school. Pretty soon, I'm going to be starting my last year of high school. Liz leaned towards him with an attentive smile on her face. Have you been doing well there? Getting good grades? Got any friends? At the list of questions, Shilo held his hands in front of himself as if they were physical things he could stave off. Yeah, to everything. It can be a little hard sometimes because of how people are in that school, but I'm happy. How people are? Cove couldn't guess what that meant, but Liz folded her arms, scowling. Don't tell me there's more people like that Nate guy hanging around. Shilo rubbed his cheek, laughing nervously. He glanced from behind the bars of the jungle gym to the laces of his shoes, to the trees swaying in the distance, unsure of where to rest his gaze. And not exactly. Nate doesn't mean to be mean. He just kind of is. He's the school's #1 performer for athletics and academics. He always takes on so much responsibility that the only possible way he can finish all of it is if absolutely nothing goes wrong. But that's impossible, so he's always stressed and ready to snap. Can't handle it when someone seems to be causing a problem. That's why, during the field trip, he was upset when I went off on my own like that. Still, he's really smart and reliable and sensitive, and he cares a lot. Most of the time, he doesn't even realize his way of dealing with stuff upsets other people. Cove had a patient smile on his face, listening earnestly as Shilo rattled off the list of Nate's good traits. You know him pretty well. Are you actually friends? Well, not exactly. Me and Nate are in the same school group, the one after school. About once a month, me and 6 other students and a supervisor get together to talk. We did it all last year, and I think next year we're going to be in the same group again. I hope so. Yeah, that's weird. What is your group? We just talk. That's all we do. He was hanging out with that guy who yelled at everything? And a what? Just talk? Liz nodded along with you, also finding it strange. Personally, I still appreciate having a word with Nate about his communication skills. Her tone of voice was low and pointed. You'd be worried for Nate if not for the playful smile that accompanied her words. Shilo let out a little laugh at that. I have Nate's number, but he won't pick up. The people in my group only answer when they feel like hearing from me, so usually I have to wait for them to call. Either way. That's not even what that says. Either that or they never even consider answering my calls, or calling me, or talking to me at all. Unless the supervisor forces them to. I don't think you should be in this group, bro. This is like from one friend to another, I'm just saying. It was such a bleak description of his dynamic with the group, but he didn't seem to realize it until he glanced up and saw the concerned looks on everyone's faces. His smile fell, and he hastened to add one more thing. Well, except for one who always answers for sure. Oh? She immediately perked up. So, that's a friend of yours. He hesitated to answer. Something Cove picked up on. Not exactly. Yeah. I'd like to be friends, though. All right. Liz crossed her arms together once more, grim-faced, like she was the commander of a ship about to lead her little crew into battle. You should call them right now. What? If you want to be friends with them, I can help. If you're going to be in the same group again, then you should at least try to get along. Oh no, I couldn't really. He quickly grew flustered, his tongue stumbling over his sentences. I don't want to be a bother. Liz, what are we gonna do? Watch him while he talks to someone on the phone? No, Cove. Shilo. The last syllable of Shiloh's name trailing off into nothing. It soon became clear that Liz had not fully thought out the plan yet, but she wouldn't be Liz if she just stopped there. Shilo could put them on a video call and we could all talk together. Dumbass. She clapped her hands together, a wide smile on her face that didn't leave room for dissenting option.
All right.
It's a good idea. It'll work. A great idea, it's a terrible idea. Cove's right, you had no words for that. Well, I don't like these people, so I'm just gonna stand here. You all do what you do over there. Cove gave a long-suffering sigh at Liz's suggestion. Come on, Shilo. We'll just talk to them. Say that we're your friends from out of town. The worst that could happen is nothing changes. But once they have more chances to talk to you, I know they'll be convinced to be better friends. Otherwise, I'll go and burn their house down. Shilo stalled to answer, but his hands were already hovering over one of the pockets of his pants. All right, we can talk. Yes. Liz clenched a hand into a fist, cheering as Shilo officially reached into the pocket and pulled out his phone. You noticed it was the same type of model as your own, but it had a red case around it because we're too lazy to render other phones. The screen lit up as Shilo requested a voice call with some numbers in his contacts. None of them on the list had names, but he remembered what numbers belonged to what person. He inched closer to the three of you so everyone could hear better. Vaguely, you wondered how this looked from the outside. 4 teenagers on the verge of adulthood hanging out on an old playground, all huddled up around a single phone. Strange? Suspicious. The ringing of the phone broke you out of your musing. You kept your eyes on it, your heart speeding at the end of the dial tone, thinking, could this be it? Only to have another start up. It had been ringing for a while when you started to think of what Cove said about all of you watching as Shilo talked on the phone. maybe even that wouldn't happen. Shilo could sense the awkwardness in the air, smiling to try to dispel it. This is normal. Don't worry. Just as he said it, the call ended, not even going to voicemail. Shilo clicked to redial. He never answers on the first call. He always does on the second. That's how he is, at least with most people. There are exceptions. You, Liz, and Co. furtively shared ambiguous looks, none of you wanting to accidentally discourage Shilo. Then you focused on the phone again as it started ringing once more. The jingling sound suddenly cut off in the middle, followed by a faint sound of white noise. With a big smile and flushed cheeks, Shilo brought the phone up to his face. A voice, low and groggy, came rasping out of the speakers. Hello? Shilo, on the other hand, was much chipper. Hi! I'm visiting a town I used to live in when I was little, and I wanted to introduce my groupmate to the people I knew back then. Some of them have already met Nate. Can you say hey to them too? And with that rushed introduction, Shilo stuck the phone out towards Cove, gesturing for him to greet the person on the other end. Although Cove hadn't been on board in the beginning, the only indication of that now was a lopsided tilt of his smile. He turned his gaze down to the screen, opening his mouth to speak, only to stutter to a complete stop. All Cove could do was sputter and gape at the screen. His reaction had Shilo's brow crinkling in worry. Or like Jeremy. It's fucking Jeremy. Shilo's groupmate didn't sound particularly impressed with how this conversation was going so far. Shilo frowned, retracting his arm away from Cove. As he did so, the screen tilted towards you and you caught a glimpse of what was on it. The only reason I know this is Jeremy is because art was linked, and Jeremy, pulled a full-on Neville Longbottom on us right here. Light green hair, sharp orange eyes shadowed with bangs, and icy pale skin, all tied together to make up the scowling face of a person who clearly had no desire to be here. You had no idea what was going on. Well, again, I wouldn't know that it was Jeremy without being told, so I'm gonna go that one. Cove still couldn't take his wide eyes off the phone. He spoke now in a very small voice, almost a squeak. Jeremy? Yeah? His reply was palpably disinterested. Cove's over-the-top behavior had yet to pull out an emotion from Jeremy other than mild annoyance. How'd you know his name was Jeremy? Oh, you didn't tell them? No, I only called you somebody from my group at school. Jeremy regarded Cove cautiously, for the first time giving the situation a little of his focus. Cove bristled, sucking in a long, deep, dramatic breath. Oh my god! All at once, he started shouting, and not just with his voice. He waved his arms around, gesturing wildly with his hands as he repeatedly yelled, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!" With all sorts of inflection. At these antics, Jeremy gave a short huff of a sigh through his teeth, the sound tiny over the phone speakers. What is it, Shilo? Are you trying to make me suffer? Are you still mad about what happened at the amusement park? I was on your side, you know. Liz, who had been entirely lost this whole time, finally spoke up. What happened at the amusement park? But no one paid that question any mind. I don't know what's going on. Have you met each other before? No. It was an immediate reply from Jeremy, but then those stinging eyes squinted. Wait. There was a flash of recognition there as he leaned his head forward and scrutinized the both of you. His already wide frown somehow found a way to grow deeper at his realization. It's you people. Oh, it's you people! Again? He looked from Shilo to Cove and then to you. You could tell he was carefully putting his thoughts together. I've no idea how you people got in contact with me, or what Shilo has to do with it, but, sorry. What? Jeremy sighed again. His gaze rolled over to Cove. I don't remember exactly what I did or what I said, but I do know what I was like as a kid, and really, that's all I need to know. Oh, Jeremy! Are you having a heart-to-heart? Okay. Who was that apology for? It better be for me, and for French fires. He spoke sternly, though there was no hiding the shakiness present. That didn't matter. Cove coming to your defense by confronting Jeremy brought a warm smile to your face. Jeremy, on the other hand, continued to be unimpressed. The corner of his lip twitched. I didn't need to know what the teenage guy equivalent of a smooshy squeak is, but now I know. Thanks for that. I mean, he's not wrong! Point 1, Jeremy. A small, offended noise came from Cove. Unfortunately, it was also squeaky sounding. His face immediately burned red with embarrassment. Hey, that's my squeak toy you're talking about! Oh, what a perfect description. Yes! I just said that! A large grin spread across your face and a small laugh tumbled out. You didn't need to look at Cove to know he was pouting. Oh, here it goes. Should I go pour my shot now? Is it coming? Jeremy didn't react at all. He continued watching the 4 people on the other end of the unwanted call, lackadaisically. The apologies for whoever. Anyone who had to deal with me back then. They weren't having a good time. He shrugged. Jeremy's focus cycled from you to Cove and back again. I kind of remember what happened, I think. You were sensitive. You didn't have much patience for me. That makes sense. Jeremy tilted his head Cove's way, and then yours, respectfully. That was right. The memories came back to you of a small, angry, bespectacled boy who spent one summer yelling at you. Amazed, Cove took a few processing moments before he could respond. He blinked and rubbed the back of his neck. Oh, thanks? I mean, it's no problem. You looked away. I've got my eyes on you. You're lucky you're not here in person. I accept your apology. This is honestly incredible. It was like a half-hearted apology. This was too weird for you. Silently, you wondered what the statistical odds were for you, Cove, Shilo, and Jeremy meeting like this again. Whatever. Following Cove's eyes, you watched it dart from Shilo to Jeremy, openly wondered what had happened. What? Openly wondering what had happened to Jeremy over these past few years. So you're nice now? Nope. I don't throw tantrums or pick fights anymore, but I'm not nice.
How dare you.
Jeremy shook his head in disbelief. That squeak toy comment wasn't a compliment, you know. I don't have the energy to get angrily worked up like I used to as a kid. It's all pointless anyway. Now I'm just miserable, and I listen to Panic at the Disco all the time. You'd be miserable if you had to listen to them too. They've got like 2 good songs. Bloody hell! His tone was even grumbler than usual. Damn.
He had him a grumble.
He had to grumble, grumble, grumble. An awkward laugh escaped Shilo. Then his mouth pulled into a demure smile. Don't let what Jeremy says about himself get you too down. He's got people who care about him, and make sure he's okay, like me. Don't listen to Shilo. It's nice you're looking out for someone. I don't really care if Jeremy's sad or not. I mean, I don't. I'm still not over the fact that the two of you actually know each other. Yeah, I don't give a shit, Jeremy. I don't give a shit. Good idea, for once. Okay, seriously, how long am I meant to be out of the loop here? Her expression twisted in frustration as Liz rubbed her right temple. Why am I the only one who doesn't know this kid? Shilo goes to school with him, that's fine. But how the two of you meet him and I didn't? He was around town one summer back, like 5 years ago. You were there. Liz crossed her arms and stared, unconvinced at you. Is that all? Well, Liz seemed a bit underwhelmed. Shilo appeared to be utterly amazed. You had to hold back a small laugh. You knew Jeremy as a little kid? What was he like? I've only known him for a year and a half. Well, he's kind of a dickhole. His voice immediately hushed into nothing. You could see Cove wince just thinking about those past encounters. Actually, Cove does a good Jeremy impression! Yes! Do it! Oh, you've got an impression of me, huh? Cove's body stiffened in fear. Jeremy leaned forward just a bit. Sure. Go ahead. Do it. Bacardi and Cola. Do it, do it. Jeremy spoke dispassionately, but it somehow still felt like a dare. Yeah, that'd be great. Cove does not look happy about this prospect at all. He probably is. Cove shook his head, along with this stilted laugh. He was sweating in place. I really shouldn't. It's not very flattering. I'd bet. More broken chuckles fell out of him, and Cove turned his face toward the ground. Sorry. Drooping your shoulders, you accepted that Cove wasn't going to do the impression. Shilo frowned in disappointment, and Jeremy groaned at the atmosphere. Whatever, I'll do my own impression.
You're stupid. You are stupid. You are stupid. And don't forget, you are stupid.
You are stupid. You're stupid. You're stupid. And don't forget you're stupid. I mean, that's pretty good. He delivered the rapid-fire insults in a blandly annoyed tone. After a pause, he went back to his normal tone of complete disinterest. So that, but louder and shriller. I'm not going to yell for this. That was amazing. That was a weak impression. I can do a better impression than that. You laughed, you shook your head. I mean, that was pretty good, I gotta say. It wasn't exactly accurate, but it was hilarious to see him attempt it. Even Liz cracked a smile. At that confirmation, Shilo burst into uncontrollable laughter. Even when he calmed moments later, gasping for breath, there was still a wide grin plastered on his face. I can't even imagine Jeremy being like that. I can't imagine him not being like that. They both chuckled again. Cove's mouth pulled into a bent smile. I mean, Jeremy hasn't made fun of my eyebrows once this whole conversation. Unbelievable. Jeremy blinked and focused all of his attention onto Cove. His eyes unmistakably narrowed in on his eyebrows. He didn't say anything at first, and then his words came out in a mumble. Oh, I guess that makes sense. I guess insulting eyebrows was just what I did as a kid. What does that mean? What you think it means. You weren't the only kid in the world with bad eyebrows, and you're not the only one I picked on for it. Dumbass. You think you're so important. Everything is about Cove.
Seriously?
It wasn't? You couldn't help yourself, could you? Nope. Wow. So, what made their eyebrows bad? Are you curious if yours are better? By terrible eyebrow standards, at least? I fucking love the new Jeremy. Kick out! I want to put Jeremy in here as the love interest. I'm sick of your whiny ass. Kinda.
Sigh.
Incredulously, Cove looked from Jeremy to you, and then back to him again. You had to question if you heard that right. He spoke the word sigh instead of actually sighing. He's so hipster, he makes hipsters look not hipster. Noticing the reaction, Jeremy sighed for real, but he continued to answer Cove's question. The guy has particularly odd hair coloring, white hair, but only on the top of his head. Oh, is it Baxter? It's totally Baxter. Every other strand is dark brown, including his immensely bushy eyebrows. He's born that way, he's not died. So, you were the scared boy with dumb, wavy eyebrows, and he was the white-haired boy with stupid caterpillar eyebrows. I just went into Baxter there. For no reason. Just like came out of my mouth. Unexpectedly, a loud gasp came from Shilo at that description. No! You picked on Pran for his eyebrows? Oh, it wasn't Baxter. It was who the fuck is named Pran? I did. I'm sure you find that hilarious. No, it's not very funny. So he said, but Shilo was smothering laughter. That unconvinced note in Jeremy's voice didn't surprise you. Okay, wait, give me a second. Let me just... Jeremy rolled his eyes in the slowest, most exaggerated way possible. When he made a complete circle, he spoke flatly while Shilo broke into a fit of giggles. There. Who's Pran? Shilo knows him too? Jeremy and Pran have known each other for a long time. They managed to go to the same boarding school later on. I met them both there in the spring last year. We're group mates. Jeremy's gaze slid away from Shilo. He looked somewhere between you and Cove. Pran and I met about 4.5 years ago, back when I was still an intolerable brat. Pran was meek. You can only imagine how amazing that combination was. Yeah, it makes those group meetings awkward. Somehow, some way, for some reason, Pran chose to stubbornly stick with me for as long as we've known each other. He's my best friend. What? It's surprising I know I have best friends, and it's the caterpillar brow guy of all people. But I guess things balance out in the end. Pran's timid nature is good and dead. He grew up to be colder than ever. I'm mopey and he's broody. Perfect match. 2 peas and ruining everyone's life pod! Oh, I really want to steal that, Shilo. That's pure gold.
Gross.
Don't quote Everett. Cove whined after Jeremy snapped at his last remark. Who's Everett? Oh my god, Cove, we don't have all day to figure out who's who and who's doing what, alright? You don't want to know. Yeah, you don't want to know. Shilo hummed and he watched his 3 old friends with an amused smile. He was having fun. But before you could say anything, Jeremy continued. Everett is also part of the group, unfortunately. But he chose not to elaborate further than that. Liz sighed this time. You could feel her frustration. You couldn't blame her for that. She hadn't been able to participate much at all. She didn't know Jeremy then, so there was no basis for reminiscing now. and there was a 10-year gap in her history with Shilo. The whole situation struck an odd chord with you. 2 boys that you knew separately came to know each other, and now they knew each other much better than you knew any of them. Shilo was almost a stranger. You shrugged off the feeling you didn't know how to feel. You were on the same page as Liz. You felt down. You were glad things seemed alright. You felt annoyed. I'm gonna go with don't know. We'll go middle. Right? Welcome to being an adult. You were happy to know that Shilo was busy living his life and filling it with friends, but it was hard not to feel sort of left behind, and that it was utterly bizarre that he had appeared to be bonding with Jeremy. Turning to the three of you, Shilo smiled apologetically. You wondered if he was picking up on how in the dark you, Liz, and Cove were feeling. He was perceptive when he wanted to be. At least, that's what you remembered of Shilo. Who knew what he was like now? Hey, is there anything you want to hear about Jeremy? I can tell you all about him. We should get to know each other better. Don't do that. You'll be okay. Jeremy winced, but Shilo brushed his complaints off. He remained happily focused on the rest of you, and Liz seemed to perk up at the conversation shift. That sounds great. We should get to know Jeremy. So, who wants to go first? Despite being eager, it was obvious that Liz didn't have any ideas herself. Jeremy let out a very long sigh. Goddamn, there's a lot of options. Is he single? I really want to ask that, for no reason other than to do it. That had Shilo giggling. He smiled and turned down at the screen. Jeremy isn't in anything official, but he does have someone he goes on dates with from time to time. You call that dating? I call it punishment for all my wrongdoings in this life. Cove scrunched his face and glanced at you like he wasn't sure he heard Jeremy correctly. Shilo smiled understandingly. It's complicated. She makes him happy against his will. How unfortunate? Shilo started chuckling again. Jeremy, on the other hand, let out a loud sigh, clearly done with the current topic. What happened to your bowl cut and glasses? You had a bowl cut? That sent Shilo into a fit of laughter. Jeremy shook his head disapprovingly. Through chuckles, Shilo continued with his best guess. His mom and dad probably decided it back then, and now he picked. Or they developed new taste over the years. As for glasses, Jeremy wears contacts at school. When he's out and about, he wears his glasses, or when he's home working part-time at his parents' hobby shop. I certainly don't stalk him to know that or follow him everywhere. Right. Does he have any hobbies? Reading, craft handiwork type stuff, and archery. Jeremy's really talented. Seriously, that's really cool. Jeremy scoffed at the compliments. He clearly wanted to move on from the conversation. So what did happen at the amusement park? I don't actually know. I can only think of one time when we were both there. I'm not sure what part he's talking about as far as I can tell. I didn't do anything to upset him. I know he didn't do anything to me. Sigh. That's what you're going with, Shilo? Jeremy, what happened? I'm not going to tell you. It's humiliating. Shilo knows I'm not going to say anything. That's why he won't explain it either. For several quiet moments, everyone stared at Shilo and Jeremy in confusion. Shilo had a similar look on his face before averting his eyes. Sorry, I can't help you with this one, French Fires. Alright, well, moving on. Cool. Thanks for asking. Cove, do you have any questions for Jeremy? Stunned, it took Cove a moment to recover from being put on the spot. But ultimately, his eyes shifted from Shilo's and locked with Jeremy's. They remained like that long enough that it was if they could speak telepathically. Alright, yeah, I have one question. Shilo can't answer. Fine, ask me. Let's get it over with. What do you think of me? Even if you don't think I'm tough or something, you still feel like I'm stupid and wrong about everything. Why does it fucking matter, Cove? Jesus Christ! A crack formed in Jeremy's lackadaisical expression. He barely opened eyes. His barely opened eyes lifted a little more, but he spoke flatly. My opinion on stuff is basically the least important thing you could ever worry about. Pointless. Well, still asking. Cove, right? That's your name? Cove nodded. There was a tin of pink in his cheeks as he bashfully rubbed his arm. Hey, Cove, you seem like a guy who cares a lot about things that don't matter. It sounds pretty dumb to me. I had crew that years ago. And being as soft as you act, it isn't something that I would ever do, basically. But, you know what the absolute dumbest thing is, really? Cove shook his head with creased brows. He then leaned forward just a bit like he could risk not hearing what revelation Jeremy was going to bestow on him. Making yourself miserable if you don't have to be. Thank you, Jeremy! Oh. You and the rest of people here have a way to enjoy existence, then you guys should go ahead and do that. Stay gentle, happy. Dumb eyebrow guy.
You have my approval.
You've got my approval, and that's what you wanted. I hope you all have wonderful lives and suffer as little as possible. Ow. The word tumbled out softly. Cove was earnestly amazed by Jeremy's words. Thank you. And you know what's not gonna make you stay happy? What? Talking to a downer like me, so really, you should end this conversation right now and none of you should ever call me again for the rest of our lives. That sounds good. Can I hang up now, like yesterday? 10 minutes ago? He asked me a million questions about my life. Aw, wait, Jeremy, I can't never call you again. Shut up, Shilo. Unfazed, Shilo laughed with a tilt of his head. But something good up only to try undercutting it. That's Jeremy. I know. The word dripped with sarcasm and was accompanied by a smirk. It was the first time you saw him smile the entire time. Cove piped up meekly, an awkward smile of his own on his face. Maybe my opinion is totally skewed because I'm comparing things now to how Jeremy used to be, but, I mean, you don't seem that bad. What? Cove nodded to look away from Jeremy's painfully sharp eyes to finish his thought. I'd probably be okay with talking to you again. Sigh, come on, I have standards. I want to keep talking to Jeremy. Yeah, Kofi's pretty cute. I'd be fine with ending this call now. I don't think he's that bad. Oh, let's go with that one. I don't think he's that bad. At least one person is making sense. He remained unimpressed with Jeremy, but it didn't faze Cove. He was still warming up to a whiny guy. And then, Liz clapped her hands together. Well, it's enough of a start. Now that we're much closer to this Jeremy kid, I think we can all get along and be friends. Friends? Jeremy repeated the word back like it was a foreign phrase. He genuinely didn't seem to understand. That's right. If we keep working on it, I don't see why the five of us can't be friends. He stared at Liz incredulously for several moments, her expression twisted into fresh confusion of her own. Okay, 3 things. First, I already have a whole friend, and that's more than enough. Second, I don't know who you are. Didn't you say your name at any point? And importantly, third, one of the people in this friendship is Shilo Fields, and I aren't gonna be friends. Why not? I'm Liz, by the way. Because he's Shilo, our relationship is already good as it's ever gonna be. He mercifully leaves me to be most of the time, and on the weird occasion where he needs something, I just get over. Then he goes away again, and I have a... Then he goes away again, and I have a modicum of peace. You know how it works, right? You're in it with me. We have the best arrangement possible. That's the way it is. Jeremy looked at Shilo seriously to back up the validity of their relationship, but Shilo shook his head with a laugh. I don't try to hang out too much, but that's because you're shy. You're the only one who thinks that setup is actually a good idea. Sorry. Jeremy turned his face to the side and let out another exaggerated sigh. Cove and Liz both joined in Shilo's mirth, and Jeremy got no support. Of course you'd say that. Why do I even bother? That's Shilo's famous memory for you. Liz's chuckling stopped. Wait, what does that mean? Shilo's famous memory. Whatever. Basically, Shilo annoyingly remembers everything that happened for all of eternity. At least until some piece of info he isn't helpful anymore, or he's got explaining to do, then magically all of a sudden he doesn't know anything. His boldly inconsistent recollection of situations is pretty much a running joke. It's Shilo's stick. One of them, anyway. A scowl dug into Liz's face as Jeremy spoke. Cove lost his smile, seeing her reaction. Shilo remained silent, with his big childlike eyes locked on your sister. Jeremy began to shrink away from the screen at the changing atmosphere. He broke eye contact with everyone. I'm guessing he didn't mention that. No, he didn't. And he said he forgot something to you? I do recall him saying something like that. But, well, apparently you had the pleasure of meeting Nate. You know me, and I talked a bit about Pran and, Everett, too. We're all in that unbearable group, and we're all unbearable people. What an amazing coincidence, huh? What we're about is kind of hard to hide. I want to go now. I don't want to be the fifth wheel in your little group. You three people have a good day, I guess. Shilo, see you back at school. Bye. Jeremy promptly ended the call, just as people had begun to warm up to him. He accidentally found a new way to ice the mood again. Shilo, now averting his own gaze, put his phone away and chuckled. I knew Jeremy didn't think highly of me, but it's even worse than I thought. That's really sad. Shilo! Her firm tone immediately brought Shilo's focus back to her. Once she got his attention, however, Liz's voice became small. When we first met you in the city, did you know who we were? Did you pretend to not recognize it? The two old friends watched each other for a beat, but ultimately Shilo closed his eyes with a lopsided smile. Aw, Lizzie, you gotta know I could never really forget you. Liz was speechless, but it wasn't quiet. Cove couldn't stop himself from shouting out. Oh my god, you're lying to them! Lying is a strong word. I'm, improvising. That's cruel. Makes more sense than not figuring it out. You didn't have really... You're an asshole. You're an asshole! All eyes landed on you, but you were focused on Shilo. You couldn't get a read on what he was thinking. At most, his mouth twitched. Go home, Shilo, or go to my house and wait there until we can send you home. Okay. With his shoulders dipped and head low, Shilo obediently left the park alone. After he disappeared up the road, Liz sat her butt down right in the sand with no concern for how dirty her dress might get this time. Went after Shilo. I would stay with my sister. You can go. We're done. Cove shared an unsure look with you. She wanted to be alone, but this wasn't the time for that. No, it's obvious you need us to be here with you. Accepting that you are going to be here for this, she let out a groan. At the same point, Liz pulled the side of her hat down, gripping it tightly in frustration. Can't believe he pretended he didn't know us. Since when was Shilo too good to catch up with acquaintances? It's infuriating. Am I an idiot for thinking we could talk? I will give you a hug, my sister. You wiggled closer and pulled your big sister into a hug from the side. You continued to hold on even when she didn't let go of her hat. He's the idiot. Yeah, that's how that goes. Yeah, what a tool. I can't believe that's what Cove actually said. Goddamn. And yet, for the second time in our recordings of our life beginning and always, my Streamlabs decided to not save the video that I was doing. So I shall fill you in on what happened. We sat there, we talked to Liz, we're like, forget Shilo, he's a douche nozzle. Then Shilo, like from across the fucking playground, is just like, oh hey guys, I wanna come over there. And I'm like, the fuck you are. And then he comes over there anyway, and he's like, oh, this is what I do. And like, if I can't deal with shit, I just like pretend it's not there. And like, I never said that I wasn't doing that, like, ever, even when we were kids. And, like, somehow we reached some resolution where I still hate his ass, and Lizzie's, like, okay with it, and Cove is just, like, whatever, because it's Cove. But anyways, that's what you missed. I truly apologize. I will see you for the next episode of Our Life. I would just go back and re-record that ending part, but I can't do that, and my old save is like a really old fucking save, so lesson learned, I guess. Lesson learned.